Hey y'all, welcome back to the Journey with Sarah Alexia podcast. I am super excited that you decided to tune in today. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast channel and turn on notifications so that way you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at __ Sarah Alexia. I pray that this episode blesses you, and if it does, please share it with 5 other people. Okay, let's get into it. Hey y'all, so I have a quick question. Are you struggling with weight loss? Like you're trying to get into this hot girl summer, hot boy summer, but you just can't get into it, like you're just not reaching your goals? Or have you received a bad doctor's report that has you worried, like they said you're at risk for X, Y, and Z? Or, last question, have you noticed common health trends in your family? Like everyone in your family is struggling with this specific illness. Well, you might want to stick around for this podcast. In today's episode, I will be talking about a report that could have killed me, but instead it turned my whole life around. Also, stick around even if you're not struggling with this, but you know someone who is. Maybe you can potentially share this podcast with them. Just a quick disclaimer, however, I am not a medical professional, so you should definitely consult your physician as it pertains to the next steps with your health. What I share in this episode is definitely what has helped me and shaped me, and my prayer is that it will inspire you to get on a better journey with your health. So let's get into it. So before we get into this journey, I have to share something real quick. I've come to realize that as a society, we've gotten way too complacent when it comes to illness. Like we are way too okay with having high blood pressure, having hypertension, having the gout, etc. And what I've also realized is that we've become ignorant to the fact that these illnesses are running through our family bloodline. What do I mean by this? Well, you don't think it's strange that everyone in your family has high blood pressure? Or you don't find it strange that everyone in your family has high cholesterol? And to be honest, that's not even the most ignorant part. The ignorant part is the eating habits that happens while we have these illnesses, or while certain people have these illnesses and they continue to eat like trash. They're not being mindful of their eating. And like, to me, it just, that blows me. And the thing is, you're probably like, well, who are you to be mad judgmental, blah, blah, blah. It's their life. No, because you're going to have to listen to my journey to understand why I'm saying this. I feel as though I have the right to say this because I was once here. So check out my journey real quick. So I'll never forget in January 2022 when I went for my annual checkup. Now, usually when you go to these checkups, they get your weight, your blood pressure, they do some blood work, urine samples, they check your breathing, they make sure that you bend correctly, that you don't have scoliosis, a bunch of stuff, right? So I get there and the girl gets my weight. So first of all, the first alarming thing was that your girl was almost 240 pounds, maybe 250. I don't know. It was around 240 pounds. Now, of course, that's alarming. But here's what I told myself after they got my weight. You know what? I'm just going to start hitting the gym more. And I'm going to get one of them slim fit tees. So that way, you know, I could lose the weight. And maybe I'll try one of those TikTok easy way out methods. Like I've seen, at that time, I saw so many methods on TikTok on how to lose weight. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use one of those methods. You know, that's not that serious, right? So that was my first thought. So now I get into the actual room and the doctor takes my blood pressure. And as he's taking my blood pressure, once he's done, immediately he tells me that my blood pressure is dumb high and that it's never been this high before. So now I tell him like, oh, maybe today I'm just nervous. Like maybe, you know, I'm just really nervous to be at the doctor. It's been a year. So that's probably why it's high. So he gives me like this look, right? And he goes, okay, sure, but just keep monitoring. So I'm like, okay, I'll just keep it monitored. So we go through the rest of the process during my checkup, and then he sends me to the lab to get blood work done and also a urine sample. So I do what I gotta do, and I leave the lab and go home as if everything's fine. Because, you know, I've done this before, and usually everything's fine, right? So the next day comes, right? And the first notification I see on my phone is from my doctor, and it says, hey, please come into my office immediately. As soon as possible, actually. No, he said, please come into my office as soon as possible. He didn't say immediately. Immediately would have been crazy. But he said, as soon as possible. And right there and then, I was like, huh? Like, why? For what? Like, what do you need me to come to your office for? But I didn't ask him any questions. Like, I didn't text him back or anything. But like, what I kept thinking was maybe he's gonna tell me that I have low iron because this has been a common thing that I've heard before. But I'm like, bro, it don't really require me to go to your office. Like, and at that time, I was also fasting, like doing a corporate fast in my church. So usually that makes your iron low. So I'm like, bro, it don't really require me to come to your office. But I mean, it got me out of work, so I was like, okay, whatever. It's not that serious. So I get to his office, right? Like, we skip the whole process. I don't get my weight done. Like, they just said, what? Well, yeah, walk straight into his room. So I walk straight into his office room, right? And this man walks to the door. The first thing that comes out of his mouth is, my dear, you have the highest cholesterol I've seen in my entire career. Now, mind you, this man was old. Like, he must have got his license like 20, 25 years ago. So for him to say that is like, bro, like you're telling me I'm basically one in 5,000 people who've had the highest cholesterol. Now, my heart then dropped to all the way to my toes. But like, I didn't know how bad cholesterol was. Like, I'm like, okay, what does this really mean? Like, yeah, you're telling me it's high and obviously it's bad since you had me come into your office. But what does this really mean, doc, right? So I asked him what it meant, and he said that I'm basically at high risk. Like I'm high risk for heart disease and heart failure. Now this is where the waterworks came in. Like this is where I started to cry because at that time I was 25 years old, turning 26 soon, and now I'm being told that I could have heart disease and heart failure. So this is exactly what I told the doctor, bro. I have a life to live. I can't die young, right? And this is literally what I'm telling him. And you want to know what he had the audacity to tell me? He said, there is nothing to worry about. This is normal because it might just be a generational thing. But yours is just really, really high. So it could be your eating and your lack of physical activity. Now, of course, it's my eating and lack of physical activity. But for him to utter out his mouth that this is normal, like, why is this is not, yo, I'm sorry. Oh, that this is not normal, right? So then he proceeds to tell me that I can take medication to control my cholesterol. And now here's where I was triggered. Like when I tell you your girl was triggered, when he said I could take medication, I immediately just sat there, like I froze. And I just had flashbacks of my mom and like other adults in my family who would faithfully take medication every morning and every night. And not only that, I would witness them panic if they were down to their last meds because they basically needed medication to survive. Like if they were down to their last pill, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to get a referral for another prescription. There's no more referrals. Like it was just a bunch of nonsense. And like, let it be the weekend too, bro. Like it was wild. So the fact that the doctor said that this was going to be my portion, I rejected. I said, this will not be my portion because I'm only 25 years old, about to be 26. I'm not about to spend the rest of my life taking medication. That I didn't want that for myself. So I expressed that to the doctor, right? And of course, out of his mouth, again, this came out of his mouth and it kept pissing me off. But out of his mouth, he kept saying, this is normal. He's like, it's normal. People take medication every morning. I'm like, Negro, he's not even black. But I'm like, Negro, do you not hear the words coming out my mouth? I am 25 years old. I am not taking medication every day for the rest of my life. And like, I'm saying this with tears in my eyes, right? So now he sees that I'm adamant and he sees that I'm crying too. And he's like, you know what? I'll make a deal with you. Turn your health around in 3 months. And if there's like, if there's improvement made in your health, and you get the blood work done and we see that the cholesterol levels are going down, I won't put you on the medication. But however, if it still stays at that same level or it's higher, I unfortunately am going to have to put you on medication because like the heart is a serious muscle. Like you don't want to play around with that. And that part I did understand, like this is a serious implication and like he's a doctor. He has to do what he has to do. But I also know that I can do something about this. Like the fact that there was another option, like his only option was medication. But when he saw that I was adamant on not taking it, he did tell me that there's another option. All I have to do is turn my health around. So I basically took what he said and I left his office. Obviously, I'm still distressed, right? But he said that he's gonna give me 3 months to turn my health around. I was like, all right, bet, deal, right? Now here's where things got interesting. I remember calling my mom immediately after that visit, and I'm telling her with tears in my eyes, right? I'm like, Mom, the doctor said I'm at risk for heart failure because I have high cholesterol. Like, I'm telling her all that. Now, this this day was funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like, obviously, I was very distressed, but when I think back to it, it's funny. So when I tell her this, right? Guess what comes out of her mouth? It's normal. It runs in our family. Now, I sat there in my car. I'm like, bro, I'm crying to you, telling you that the doctor told me at 25 years old that I'm at risk for heart failure. And what came out of your mouth is that it's normal. Not only that, right? Here's where things, I'm like, why are you telling me this? Here's where things are interesting. She was like, oh yeah, your grandfather had it. That's how he died. Your uncle had it. That's how he died. Your other uncle had it. That's how he died. Your great grandfather had it. That's how he died. All the 4 people I just named were 4 people in my family that died due to heart failure. So I'm like, okay. Did you not hear the words that came out of my mouth? The doctor said that, and I love my mom so much. The doctor said I'm at risk for heart failure, right? Now you just told me 4 people in our family who have died due to heart failure. Ma'am, you're not getting it, right? You're not getting it. So I let it go, because to me, it's not normal. People, like the doctor told me it was normal. My mom told me it was normal. But for me, I knew that this is normal. This was not normal. So I moved on from the conversation with my mom, and I just remembered the deal that I made with the doctor. And I was really confident that I was going to conquer this thing in 3 months. And I didn't. I didn't conquer this thing in 3 months. I'm going to be honest, right? So 3 months passed, and I promise you, things actually got worse. And I was seeing a nutritionist and everything. And at that point in my life, I gained even more weight. Like, I was heavier this time. Mind you, I'm seeing a nutritionist. I'm going to the gym more frequently. But yet, I'm gaining weight, and I'm checking my blood pressure, and it's still high on a daily basis. So for some reason, I'm coming to the conclusion that nothing's clicking. Like, I'm still doing something wrong. And the thing is, it's been 3 months past, and I refuse to go back to that lab and get the blood work done. I'm like, I know I didn't do what I had to do. I know it's still going to be high, and I refuse to go back. Like, anxiety was keeping me from going, and I didn't care. And the thing is, the doctor wasn't following up either. So I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back, but I have to do something about this, because come January, this needs to be gone, right? So at this point, right, I'm like, clearly what I'm doing wrong. Clearly I'm doing something wrong still. And the nutritionist, she's still telling me that I can eat anything. That's what wasn't making sense to me. She's like, yeah, you can still eat anything you want. And I'm like, so how though? Like, how can I still eat what I want if I want to lower my cholesterol? Like, something has to change. Like, she wasn't telling me to change my diet. She was just telling me to add more fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, okay, like, she was telling me that, but like in moderation. Like, she just wasn't giving me like the proper information. Like, she was confusing me. She actually made my journey more confusing, right? So something wasn't clicking, and I'm like, bro, something gotta give. So at this point in my journey, I did one thing that I knew to do. I prayed. I prayed about the situation. Now, obviously, I was praying about the situation before, but I prayed in a different way. Now, to you, this may sound like another Christian cliche, and you might want to exit this episode, but I promise you, hear me out and understand what really happened when I pray. So the minute I started praying specifically about my health, and when I say I prayed about my health, I did not pray high cholesterol away. That's not what I did. What I did was I prayed that God will reveal to me what I'm doing wrong. Where am I falling short in this journey? And as I prayed that, literally, that's when the Holy Spirit led me to the book of Daniel. Now, what stood out to me in the book of Daniel was when Daniel wanted to prove that consuming fruits, vegetables, and drinking water would make him stronger than the other Babylonian slaves. So me being me, I'm like, let me test this theory. Like, let me test this method. Let me see if it's valid, right? And I wanted to see that if I consumed fruits and veggies for 10 days straight, would it make me stronger and wiser than the old Sarah? Like, I wasn't trying to compare myself to anyone else. I was really trying to just compare my old self to my new self. So I wanted to see what day 1 Sarah would look like and sound like and feel like compared to day 10 Sarah. And I did it for 10 days. Like, I consumed raw fruits and vegetables for 10 days straight. And let me tell you, that is literally when my life change. Like, I can't even explain to you how, but supernaturally, something happened. And the wisdom that the book of Daniel was talking about, I received within those 10 days. And that's literally when my eyes became open. When I ate fruits and vegetables, mind you, raw fruits and vegetables for those 10 days, my mood was better, my energy was better, and all I thought was, yo, I've never felt like this a day in my life. Like, I've really never felt this good, this clean a day in my life, right? And then on top of that, my insides felt great. Like, it, I just felt clean and empty on the inside. And of course, I lost a lot of weight. I lost about, I want to say like 15 pounds in those 10 days. And not only that, I became very attentive. Like, mental clarity was just on 1,000, and I became attentive. And I became attentive to the way eating took place in my family and to the kinds of foods that they were eating. And like, once I really started to focus and pay attention, I realized that fruits and vegetables are not popular in the Haitian household. Like, it's just not a thing. Like, yeah, they'll have bananas in the middle of the table. They'll have apples in the middle of the table, but they go rotten. Like, it's bought, but it goes rotten. And sometimes, like, not in my mom's house, but other Haitian households, they have fruits and vegetables in the middle of the table, but they're fake. And you don't see the real ones, right? So, I realized that fruits and vegetables are not popular in the Haitian household. And if it is, and if they are actually consuming it, they're probably choking all the nutrients out of it, right? And then my eyes are also open to the fact that in my community, we are consuming mountains and mountains of food, like huge plates of baked macaroni and cheese, 2 to 3 pieces of fried chicken, along with collard greens that have pork or turkey in it, right? And don't even get me started on the butter that's in these things. So I was literally reflecting on how we eat as a nation, whether we be Caribbean, African, people of color, like whatever it is, we're just putting stuff in our body. Like, we're fueling our body with things that isn't good. Now, of course, it tastes good, but it's not good at the rate that we're eating it. Like, we're consuming too much of it on a daily basis. And this was the wisdom that I collected in the 10 days. And because this was the wisdom that I collected in the 10 days, the 10 days didn't just become like a 10-day diet. Like, some would think about it as a 10-day diet, but that literally forced me to change my lifestyle when it came to eating. Like, everyone's always asking, because I lost weight, people are always asking, like, oh, what diet did you do? I didn't do a diet. I just changed my life around. So like, that's something I really like reiterate when people ask these questions, because I started to realize that my body truly is a temple, and I can't just be putting trash in my temple every single day. Like, and I'm not saying that, the food that we eat, like, our the Haitian food, the Southern food, I'm not saying that it's trash, but at the rate that we're eating it's trash. I'm gonna call it for what it is. It's trash at the rate that we're eating it, right? And what also was brought to my remembrance in those 10 days is that God reminded me of the 3 months before January. So when I had got that report 3 months before, I was reminded that I was out here eating every single week. If not, I was probably eating twice a week. And want to know what memory came up? The memory that came up was on my Facebook memory. I made a TikTok of all the foods that I've been eating, like all the restaurants that I was at, and I've had the date, and it was literally like it was literally every single week. Like, and it was twice a week. Like, the date was in the thing, and I'm like, bro, I was eating out every single week. And the thing is, as I was looking at the foods, there was no fruits and vegetables on the plates. Like, absolutely not. It was just rice, macaroni, seafood boil. Like, it was nothing serious that would actually benefit my body, right? And I kid you not, it was not only that I did not see fruits and vegetables in those plates, but I actually didn't even eat fruits or vegetables before that doctor's visit in those 3 months. And I think at that time I was living at my mom's house. So like, I just never seen a fruit or a vegetable. I just wasn't consuming it. Like, and obviously it was around that quarantine era. So like, people were barely outside, but that's still no excuse. Like, I just wasn't consuming fruits and vegetables. And on top of that, I was barely active. And that's because I was working from home. But again, this is no excuse when it comes to your health. Like, I wasn't hitting the gym. I could at least went outside, but I was just literally in bed all day, at my desk all day, working from home. And this is probably why my health was the way it was. And it had the right to be that way because I wasn't taking care of my temple, right? Like my cholesterol level should have been that high because I wasn't taking care of my temple. But here's where I come to encourage someone. And then here's where I also encourage myself. Those levels did not stay the same in January 2023. So here I am back at the doctor's office in January 2023, a year later. And this time I wasn't worried. And the reason why I wasn't worried is because, like, I know the doctor gave me 3 months to improve and probably go on a diet. Like, he told me to go on a plant-based diet at that time. And I'm like, oh, dang, I gotta go on a diet for 3 months and then maybe I'll go back to eating trash. That was my mindset when he told me that in January 2022. But the reason why I wasn't worried this time is because I knew that I didn't just go on a 3 month plant-based diet. I went on a whole lifestyle change. Like, I knew I needed to change my life around and not just go on a diet for 3 months. And here's the fruit of not just going on a diet for 3 months. When they took my weight, your girl lost almost about 40 pounds, right? Like, and I was mad happy. Obviously, that's a given. Losing 40 pounds is a given, and I praise God for that. Now, when they took my blood pressure, he was like, wow, your blood pressure is normal this time. And I'm like, praise God. Look, I literally every time he was complimenting me, I was like, praise God. And now here's the real test, right? Here is where I know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. He sends me downstairs to get my lab, and I went to go get some lab work done. And I did what I had to do. And the following day, right, I got a text from my doctor that said, congratulations, keep up the good work. Now, I literally could cry. Every time I tell someone this story, like, I get emotional on the inside. I really don't express my emotions on my face. But I get emotional on the inside because, like, I went from a year ago, the doctor telling me, like, hey, you're at risk for heart failure, heart disease, and, I'm going to have to put you on medication. And he kept saying that this was normal. My doctor kept saying that this was normal. My mom was saying that this was normal. I would express this to, like, my close friends and family. They kept saying that this was normal and that taking medication was normal. But a year later, the doctor's telling me, congratulations, keep up the good work. And so I say this to say is, it's not normal. Like, illness is not normal. Being at risk for heart disease is not normal. Taking medication every single morning, for those who do it, by all means, like, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm not downing you. But for me, it just doesn't seem normal. So when the doctor's trying to tell me that this is normal, my mom was trying to tell me that this is normal, when my friends and family who take medication was telling me that this is normal, I could not let that be my normal. Like, it may be someone else's normal, but for me, I couldn't let this be my normal. And this is what I'm trying to say to those who are listening. Like, we can't be comfortable with our current habits in this journey called life. I feel as though we've gotten, like I said earlier in this podcast, we've gotten too comfortable when it comes to illness. We gotten too comfortable with, having these medications going into our body when we have the power to basically medicate our own body with the natural resources that we've been giving. Now, I want you to think of your body like a 2023 Mercedes-Benz. When it comes to having a 2023 Mercedes-Benz, you cannot put regular gas in this type of vehicle. You either need to put the premium or higher. So the one that says 91 or higher. Like, that's the type of fuel you should be putting in a 2023 Mercedes-Benz. Now, you're probably wondering what will happen over time if you keep putting regular gas in a 2023 Mercedes-Benz. Well, let me just say, if you keep putting regular gas in a 2023 Mercedes-Benz, your car is going to explode at some point. Because that's not what it was created for. Like, it wasn't created for just regular fuel. So now think about your body. Your body wasn't just created for the Big Mac. It wasn't created for all the butter that we're putting in it. It wasn't created for all the meat that we're putting in it. I'm not saying that it's bad, but I'm saying if that's all you're consuming and you're not putting the premium stuff in your body, eventually you're going to explode. Whether it be with obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you name it. Like, folks, we want to name all the negative stuff that goes in our body for Thanksgiving, but we ain't naming what's going to come after if that's all we keep consuming, right? And I truly believe, we should make healthy things go viral. Like, how about we say, I got celery, apples, carrots, you name it. Like, let's do that, right? I'm trolling. But like, honestly, really, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not shaming what we eat. Like, let me be very clear. I'm not vegan or vegetarian. Like, you're probably listening to this, right? You're like, so is Sarah a vegan or vegetarian? No, I'm not. I'm actually not. And I'm not shaming what we're eating. But what I am saying is that this journey called life, it requires a balance. Not only that, it requires wisdom. And that wisdom needs to be added to our health. It needs to be added into what we're eating. Like, we use wisdom in every other area of our life, but I feel like we're lacking wisdom when it comes to our health. And like, we truly need to treat our bodies as a temple. And like, we have to be bold enough to break this curse of illness that's just running in our family. Like, really think back to your family line. Like, look at your parents. Are they taking medication every morning? Think back to your grandparents. Were they taking medication every morning? Or are they taking them? Like, I know for me, like, my mom will do like the herb teas. Like, the Haitians, they do natural stuff sometimes. But when you come to America, they put you on medication. But like, really think about your family and think about, like, how are the illnesses? How are, like, are they all struggling with the same illnesses? Are they all taking medication in the morning? And understand, like, hey, I don't want to be like that. So let me break this curse because I know I have the power to. Now, if you want to be bold enough to break this cycle and break this curse, I challenge you to go on a 10-day consecration challenge. In the challenge, you are literally to consume nothing but raw fruits and vegetables and drink water for 10 days straight. Trust me, you can do it. You're not gonna die. You'll be fine. And like, it's not like you have to fast from like a certain time. Literally, all you have to consume is raw fruits and vegetables. And honestly, I'll do it with you. Like, if you're serious about doing this, I'll even do it with you. Just shoot me a DM on my Instagram. And not only that, so not only are you just gonna consume raw fruits and vegetables, but here's what I want you to do. I also want you to pray, Lord, make me wiser and stronger than the old me. And I also want to strongly recommend that you read the book of Daniel as you go through this journey, because it will increase your faith in God, and it will also increase your wisdom and your strength supernaturally, right? Now, whether or not you choose to partake in the 10-day challenge, I do have a quick journaling activity. I want you to write these questions down. I want you to try to answer them in the most honest way possible. So here are the 4 questions I'm going to ask you. 1, do you consider yourself to be healthy? 2, are there illnesses running in your family bloodline? If yes, write them down. 3, has there been any deaths in your family due to illnesses? If yes, write that down. And 4, if you answered yes to any of the questions that I just asked, what are you going to do about your health? Because understand, you have the power to do something about it. Not medication, but you have the power to do something about it. So I pray that this blesses you. I pray that this changes someone's life. Like, again, I did not come on here to shame medication. Nope, that's not what I came to do. I did not come here to shame what we're eating. That's not what I came to do. What I came here was to shed light on the matter. What I came here was to share my testimony about how I changed my life. Like, understand, the doctor gave me a report and his first solution was medication. I said, no, I don't want to do that. So then his second solution was just change your life around. And the second solution worked. So medication is not always the answer. Like, that's literally, like, that's kind of the point that I want to make. Medication doesn't have to be the answer, but we need wisdom and knowledge and understanding, like, what our body was really created to be. And that's how we get, that's how we get the breakthrough. So again, if you choose to participate in anything that I shared, obviously consult your physician first, because I don't know what you're dealing with, but I do know that God is the ultimate physician. And if you seek first his kingdom, whatever you're dealing with will be gone in the name of Jesus. So I pray this blesses you, and I pray that you're able to share this with anyone that you know. And yeah, catch you on the next episode.